2024. Welcome to this week's Open Chat. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels, as always. And interesting, exhausting week, right? So it went a little something like this. I had to work Christmas Eve, right? That's normal. It was weird because the way the calls that would come in is we'd have a good solid almost 20 minutes of nothing, and then a stream of nonstop calls. Then another 20 minutes and nonstop calls. So that was fun. If you actually follow me on any social media, I went out to my mom's, saw my uncle, aunt, and granny on Christmas, and I'm wearing like shirt part of my pajamas that my mom got me because reasons. Hey, Chairman.
How you doing?
Uh,
Surprised to catch you this early.
yeah, I wanted to get it out of the way and be able to enjoy my weekend because the whole holidays I did have fun, but it was exhausting.
Yeah.
It, and no, I did not celebrate New Year's Eve, folks. I was working and I had to be up early to work New Year's Day yesterday. So, no, I did not do any kind of New Year's party of any sort. I was too busy having to take calls from individuals who ask such burning questions, such as, but do you have any idea how long it's going to be out of stock after having already been previously answered with the supplier has not contacted us yet. We do not have a date for when it's coming back in stock. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Thank
I
God
know
I
it
don't work
says
at a call center.
out of stock, but do you know when it's coming back in, honey? Do you see a date underneath where it shows the price? No. By that means we
Then,
also do not have a date. Ah, so that was fun.
yeah,
Holiday calls. And then yesterday, oh my God, that was like, it was very much one of those days where the calls came in so infrequently that I was sitting there questioning, why am I even here? Like, why didn't you just give us this day off? Because literally nobody was calling in. Nobody, folks. Nobody. I think they were probably all recovering from hangovers, which when I was a drinker, I've been there, I know. Not judging anyone, just saying. It was just a long day of sit there and wait, which means the day crawled by.
yeah,
Just crawled by.
yeah.
But you know how it goes.
Yeah.
So, also during the week, I got to deal with one of those stupid AH fans with their crap as per usual. You know, the usual, well, he's not going
Yeah,
to sleep.
yeah,
I'm like, I never asked him to. And you all really need new material. I'm bored. And they're very eloquent. High feminist intelligent reply to me of, it's not my job to entertain you, ugly. My Granted, this might come off as conceited, but I said, we both know that I am not ugly. I'm a lot of things, but ugly is not one of them.
not one of them. Yeah, yeah,
But I said, but basically, you are an arrogant, selfish child.
Just like Amber Heard. Yeah.
I can't deal with it. I can't, like, the levels of entitlement that I deal with, not just through people like AH, but just being an agent on the phones. The entitlement. I am entitled to a promo code. You're entitled to nothing. All
Oh.
right.
Oh. I got a phone call today from my doctors because they billed the wrong insurance as usual. So I talked to them, and
Okay.
they
Like, most doctors will update insurance information when it is relevant to them getting paid.
yeah, no shit.
Like, I may live in the land of the dueling banjos, but even they
Yeah,
can't figure out how to get proper insurance information from us who come in.
yeah. I have three insurances that I use. Agent Orange Spina Bifida is my main one because my dad's a Vietnam vet who was exposed to Agent Orange. And second one is TRICARE for life, and the other one is what everyone has, the one that they keep billing, the small one. And
The Blue Cross Blue Shield.
no, it's I forget what it is right now. I'm not gonna go in my wallet and look for the card, but it's the one that is the one they always bill. The, and I told the person I have Agent Orange spina bifida because I have spina bifida because my dad was in Vietnam. I had to explain that because the person thought I was in Vietnam. I said I was born in '76. How could I be in Vietnam if I was born in '76? We left in what,
Like, do they not have,
72?
like, they should have your full medical records, for God's sake.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm like, are you stupid? I was born in '76. Vietnam ended, I think it was '72 for us, or '73.
I'm still dealing with idiots that like to pop up on my timeline occasionally on Twitter with the whole, if your child is autistic and you took Tylenol while pregnant, you might be entitled to some compensation. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Ugh.
Well, they're finding out a lot of these medications cause a lot of problems that they probably knew already but didn't want to admit to.
The thing is, though, with autism, there has been genetic studies. Like, I could have them pouring out my ears and surrounding this entire apartment complex and then circling the globe 3 times. That's how many studies have been done. Every single time when it's been a reputable group that is worth their salt, it has been proved it's genetic. Not only that it is genetic, but has been around as long as humans have been around.
Yeah, even spina bifida has been around a long time too.
It is beyond obnoxious. I'm like, okay. Explain to me what caused the person to become autistic then before the invention of Tylenol, because the diagnosis is older than
Yeah,
mass marketed Tylenol.
yeah,
Nor did it cause an increase. This is what gets me going. The number one thing that increases any diagnosis is awareness of said diagnosis. Everybody who knows anything about stats whatsoever can understand that.
Uh-huh.
Wider awareness means more people getting diagnosed. It's not rocket science. It's not suddenly there's an uptick out of nowhere and suddenly all these kids are magically autistic. Ew. They were
Yeah.
always autistic.
Un- just undiagnosed. Yeah.
I'm just saying. And they're like, but what about in history? I'm like, you ever hear about the monks that would go hide out in religious retreats out in the desert, preferred to be by themselves? Guess what they
Mm.
probably were? Two
Yeah.
guesses.
Yeah.
God, I get so tired. So tired of it. And then, of course, the ABA defenders. You gotta love the ABA defenders. Talking about a scenario from a study that was done where a kid had a favorite soap that they liked to wash their hands with. It was nice for them sensory wise.
Yeah.
The ABA staff took away that soap that they already earned, that they already own, and
Mm.
essentially told that kid in order to earn back their soap, they have to be normal for over a certain period of time.
Oh
Now,
Lord.
due to sensory issues, whenever they tried to use the same garden variety soap, the kid would be screaming. There are few things going on. They get like, well, they're doing it because they don't like the soap. Did you ask them why they didn't like the soap, Karen? Because guess what? All of us, at least to some level, have sensory issues. The
Sweet.
soap you're
I have sensory
using,
issues.
if the kid is screaming, there's some kind of sensory distress and pain that is going on in that moment. Maybe
Mhm.
think about, I don't know, changing the soap.
Yeah. Um.
Number
I
two,
I can't stand wearing shirts that are like silk like material because my skin it just drives me the fuck crazy. I just can't do that.
wool will literally make me bust in the hives.
I don't have a problem with
Literally.
wool, but like something like sheer like silk or something that that plastic type of material they use now, the plastic shirts, that drives me crazy. Anything that has a smooth surface, that drives me absolutely nuts. I cannot wear that on my skin. I
I'm just saying. So there's like two things going wrong there. First of all, it is kind of, to me, it is like batshit insane to take away an item from a kid
that,
that they
that
already
gives them
own.
comfort. That gives them comfort for one.
And
And
then you're telling them that they have to pretend to be something that they're not in order to receive back that which they already own.
already owned. Yeah, that is bull. That's absolute
So
bull.
essentially, ABA at its heart is trying to teach us how to pretend to not be ourselves.
But be something that they consider normal.
That will make the neurotypicals more comfortable in our presence.
Yeah, bull
And they
crap.
call this the gold standard medicine because if that's what your medical practice is about, if it is more a focus on making us more acceptable to our neurotypical peers instead of actually focusing on, I don't know, the patient and what we want,
Yeah,
then
no
you're not
kidding.
practicing medicine anymore.
No.
Because if you are treating someone, the treatment should be about that individual. It should have really nothing to do about the people that surround them.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I can tell you, as a girl who was overexhausted and had my first autistic burnout at the age of 16 years old,
Huh.
the masking that ABA demands, that pretending to be normal, that replace your undesirable behaviors with the desirable behaviors of the neurotypicals, does not look at the reality of neurotypicals at all and what they're really like. And number two, it kind of rips the band-aid off the lie. They are finally acknowledging, no, yes, what we're trying to do is force you to at least pretend, if not become neurotypical. I mean, I guess at least I appreciate the honesty. At least we're no longer hiding this fact, because I didn't go through ABA, thank God, but I did naturally mask by watching others
Mm-hmm.
as a means to, be more accepted by my peers until I hit about middle school. I hit middle school and I was kind of done, but I still masked in other places in public. I didn't so much do it in school anymore, but still, at the age of 16, the fact that I had a full-on burnout because I was exhausted from masking 24/7, even when I was at home, and never turning it off, there is psychological and physical repercussions to doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But these people will not explore it because they don't care. Because if ABA is getting the results that they want, then the price that we have to pay for them to get what they want doesn't matter. Our satisfaction with our own treatment and our lives doesn't even come up for debate. And that's not just with ABA professionals. If you look at the whole medical model, if you look at these politicians, you look at all these autism mommies everywhere, it's all the same crap. And we are bombarded by it. And if any of us dared to try to speak out about it, oh, you don't really know what you're talking about. Or my favorite, you must really not be autistic. I want to see your diagnosis papers. Here's the thing, when you show them those diagnosis papers, they will tell you that the doctors had to be wrong. Because obviously, you're not really autistic. You're on social media. You can speak. And my favorite, you can read.
What
Yeah.
does that have to do with being autistic? What does that have to do with being autistic?
Because in spite of all these awareness
Mm.
campaigns, none of these people actually know what autism is and what it isn't, and the fact that it affects each of us individuals differently, and it does not
Differently.
manifest the
Yeah.
same in any of us. I can have background noise TV on and still carry a full on conversation.
All right.
However, I can have TV on, have a full conversation like we're doing now. There are autistics who have such hypersensory issues that they will lose the ability to be able to concentrate if you play music in the background and try to do a YouTube video, for example. They can't concentrate on the content because the sensory triggering of the music in the background,
Yeah.
it manifests differently. So,
Yeah.
as always, dug into ABA. So far, the Autism Mommy team haven't pulled out the torches and pitchforks yet, but I'll update you all on that, obviously.
Yeah. When I was younger, I was able to be in a crowd full of people and have everyone talking and listen to one person and zone everyone else out. But now, these days, I have a problem doing that now for some reason. It just flipped on me. It just decided to flip.
So I got to dig a little bit more into that fight. And eventually, I would like to open up on all the multiple, and I do mean multiple issues in regards to ABA, but my time is so swept up with JRC and work, as well as dealing with the crap going on here as they in this very GOP hillbilly hell landscape that I got born into and therefore am cursed to live in, are slowly eroding the rights of autistics in alphabetical order. And it was all due to the fact that many autistics have stood up, like myself, for the drag queens who are being falsely lied about repeatedly by the GOP media heads out here, and
Hmm.
being the fact that we have stood up for the trans people of our community. Not because, well, there's some of us who are, I am not. But what I can relate to is having society trying to force me to make me pretend to be something that I'm not 24/7. For that, I got deep sympathy and understanding. So, because we made that stand, the GOP out here lost its mind, and all those rights that I fought for alongside the moms who were actual allies and not looking to make a buck off of their kid, and allies from ARC and Easter Seals and Nova and all these places that we worked with, and as far as getting programs built for adults to get them into jobs or in secondary education, the stuff we created for those who need it to help with getting on Social Security. The fact that we worked so that autistics, once we hit our majority age, had full control over our medical decisions. Guess what's happening?
Hmm.
It has been stated that an autistic, regardless of how old we are unallowed to get the sex change operation done. So this is not what the GOP keeps trying to tell you, but if they're 18, we don't care. Can I tell you something, folks? It's a lie. It's a lie. It's the one they use because it sounds good to them, right? But the fact of the matter is, they always start on the disabled people before they start on the neurotypicals. Always remember that, folks. They always start with the disabled folks.
Yeah,
Now they
because we're second class citizens.
And the reason why they started with the autistics were the first ones to start jumping to the defense of the drag queens out here and the trans. But I don't even doubt for 5 seconds that they're going to start on some of the other developmental disabled out in this state, not for 2 seconds. So essentially, we've had to gather again to refight for the rights that we had already fought a long, hard fight to win in the first place. Because the idiots out here don't think that there should be such a thing as separation of church and state. I won't even get into their prejudices against people of other religions or even their own same religion. Like, let's not speak about how the Catholics are treated in this state. Because, yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. It is the evangelical homegrown religion, and you follow and fit all these tiers, or we're going to use you to try and see what we can get away with. You know, and it always ends up being us. Us or guys. It's us or men. Pretty much almost every damn time. And I don't want any of the freaking major feminists coming in here starting your bullshit. Please. I've got eyeballs. I'm almost 40 years old. I have sat here and watched while you sit there, but men have all the rights and da 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 da. Men had. Keyword had.
Had. Yeah.
All the rights. At one point in time. This is true. I'm not going to debate a very obvious fact. However, within the last few years, starting late 80s into now, the image of the male has been slaughtered into something that is, well, it's buffoonery, isn't it? And not just that. Even in a situation, like, do you have to understand, folks, how extreme a situation is for a court, even in a red GOP state like mine, to give the father over the mother custody of a child? The only reason why things went smoothly in my parents' divorce is because though they hated each other immensely, they were both rational adults about the situation and agreed beforehand 50-50 custody. That's it. There was no disclaimers. There was no conditions. We went to his house every other weekend. And I do mean that's it. Even if it happened during a school performance, the person who would bring me to do my band concerts would be who I was scheduled to be with that particular weekend. And the other parent would, of course, come and attend and hug.
Yeah.
We don't live in that world anymore. It's take what you can get out of the man that you're divorcing. Take his money. Take his house.
Yeah. No
Try
kidding.
to take his job if you can. You can't tell me that hasn't become a thing, because it's literally become a comedy trope on TV that we watch every night.
Well, if you live in California, the man really gets screwed. The man really gets screwed.
Now, am I saying that there's not some areas where men are still absolutely top tier in regards to rights? Yes, but this is where class comes in, folks. You want to know where the men get discriminated against the most? It is the almost eradicated middle class and the poor. If you are an elite male that makes an obscene amount of money, unless you're a person like JD, who has always kind of, and rightfully so, I might add, flipped off the mainstream, and I'm kind of right there with him, only I got a double-fingered salute. But if you weren't one of those exceptions, the real men in power that nobody has the balls to actually attack. You know what I mean? Even when they get caught doing something wrong, there's always an excuse. There's always a loophole. There's that, oh, look, he's doing community service. Obviously, he learned his lesson. No, he didn't. It's not just men's rights being eroded, it's which men.
Yeah.
People have a lot of hate for Elon Musk, but have you seen anybody really go after him the way they went after JD?
No.
And we probably won't see it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, it's like people going after Trump. They pretty much vilified this guy, but Biden's done a lot of the same crap, and no one's touching him.
well, you know what I've told you. Every last one of them, whether it's your state representatives or it's the Washington up there, every single last one of them, Trump, Biden, Clinton, all of them. Remember, I've wheeled and dealed. I have made those quote unquote backroom deals. I don't feel proud of it, but at the time, it helped do a lot of good for a lot of people that other people like to forget exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd do it again. But that being said, I can tell you, none of these people, I don't care how good they sound on the campaign trail, not a single one of these bastards give a fuck about any of us.
Mm-hmm.
Democrat, Republican, it's all just a show, folks. The stuff you see on the Senate floor in Congress, they tell you that's where the decisions get made. It's bullshit. Those decisions are made in backroom bars. They're made in offices that you and I will never be able to afford, usually with at least a small amount of liquor involved. Everything else is a show. All those debates, those nasty comments, it's a show meant to whip up the public for one side or the other. At the end of the day, all of these bastards are exactly alike one another. They are saying what they believe their constituents want to hear and perform their little performance in order for people to continue to vote for them so that the lobbyists will continue to line their pockets. I guess this is what I mean when I tell you I'm a nihilist. What is it that they say in Britain? Guy Fawkes, the only guy who ever entered into Parliament with true intentions. It's kind of that situation, and it's been that way for years. I'm just one of the few people who will just say it out loud, but that's been the majority of my family. You know, and remember, like you, I come from a family of vets. They will tell you that they don't even give a shit about the soldiers. My brother would tell you they especially don't.
Yeah. Soldiers are tools to be used. Yeah. Bunch of
Then
crap.
cast away when they're no longer convenient.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, no, that's the reality. If you're going to deal with any politicians, go in there knowing exactly who you're dealing with. Don't come in with an idealized vision of this person.
Yeah.
Go in there knowing what they are, because if you know what they are, if you've done your research and you know what actually motivates that individual, then you have them where you want them.
Yeah. Um. My one of my cousins, he was hurt by an RPG blast when he was over there in Afghanistan. And the other day, he went to a restaurant, and a waiter dropped a plate behind him, and he literally jumped out of his skin because of the noise.
The
And then
PTSD.
the restaurant owner asked him to leave,
Yep.
all because of a noise. The guy reacted to a sound that probably sounded like a bomb to him, and he was asked to leave by the owner of the restaurant.
See, I don't know. I guess there's a part of me that is idealized, but when it comes to dealing with these individuals, it becomes extremely important to not go in there Google eyed because these are trained manipulators. Like, you think AH is bad. AH is bad because she sucks at what she does.
Yeah. Well, did you hear how bad Aquaman 2 did in the movie theater? Well, when that came out, oh my God.
My brother is a DC little fanboy. As I'm a Marvel fangirl, obviously there's going to be the butting of the heads there.
Yeah. Well, I like both, but
But even he, DC fanboy, we had a full blown argument over the most recent Batman, which I will still stick with my opinion that that is an atrocity against all Batman movies. And I don't blame Robert Pattinson. He played the role well that they gave him, but that wasn't Batman.
no,
But
no.
anyway,
What the movie was supposed to be was him starting out to be Batman, right? It was supposed to be him starting.
but it is went against the comics. The thing about Nolan's Batman is it followed the canon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, before he became Batman, he was trained by Ra's al Ghul. That is comic book canon.
Canon, yeah.
He knew how to fight when he became Batman. Seeing those fight scenes was like almost physically painful for me.
Hmm.
They were so bad. Holy crap, they were bad. Bad. I just. Now, Zoe Kravitz knew how to do a decent fight scene and fought realistically. A way most of us females who do or have taken martial arts are taught how to fight.
Hmm.
Because whether feminists like it or not, we are not physically built the same as men.
No.
So, where we need to compensate for strength is in stealth and finding nice, solid, heavy objects.
Yeah.
Or if you're in a situation where you don't have access to that and you don't have your mace spray, I was taught to go for the throat, for the eyes, and the backs of the kneecaps.
Hmm.
But, anyways, not the point. I could rant on how bad I found that movie all day. But the
Yeah.
point is, he's a DC apologist fanboy, and even he had zero interest in it.
Yeah.
And there's a reason behind that. It wasn't just AH. He doesn't give a shit about her one way or the other than thinking she's nuts. The reason why he didn't care was before they let out this final Aquaman movie, Warner Brothers announced the basically erasing all the current movies and starting off fresh. So that means by the time Aquaman came out and that news was already out, everybody lost interest because there's no point to go seeing a movie when there's no future for the franchise.
Yeah.
It's not building to anything.
I think it did better in the foreign market than it did in the American market, if I'm not mistaken. More people saw it in the foreign market than they saw it here.
Well, as you know, I like to hang out on the comic book side of Twitter. And for those, yeah, they don't think much of Herd, but many of them would still be willing to go see the movie if it actually, led to something else. But because Warner Brothers said we're going to create a new offshoot DC universe and we're going to start doing that, all of a sudden, all interest in this movie went to zero.
Yeah.
That was the dumbest PR move I have ever seen in my entire life. They did it because they were trying to take heat off of Aquaman because of AH, but by doing so, they kamikazed any chance that movie had of being a success.
Yep.
Because there would have been DC fanboys who still would have gone regardless of what they think about her because it's DC.
Yeah.
But when you put out an announcement like that, why go and see it? If that is not going to be a part of the future of DC going forward, what would be the point?
Yeah. The one thing I found funny is that they did a picture of Jason Momoa sitting in an empty movie theater for one of the ads or something. I thought that was kind of funny.
He's always been the kind of sort to pick fun at himself, so.
Yeah. Yeah, but I love the guy. The guy is awesome. I don't really care what he does. I think he's a good actor in general.
Well, I'll just say this. Although AH did a lot of damage to Aquaman, Warner Brothers did far more by that little stunt.
Yeah. Hmm.
It would have still had at least some marginal success, especially in the foreign markets, like you said. Had they not pulled that, we're throwing away everything and starting fresh again. Because guess what, folks? Marvel did some stupid movies. All right? They did some really stupid movies. But they're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Okay? Not every franchise is going to have every single movie be on par with the likes of the Iron Man movies.
Mm.
There's always going to be at least one or two films, if you're successful and lucky, that are just gag worthy. But to then basically at least 5 or 6 years of those DC movies coming out, building to the dark side thing, and then to suddenly scrap that and say, actually, you know what? Forget that. That's going to piss off a lot of fans. It just is. Now, there will be a few saying, good, now maybe we can get more accurate to the comic book. But at the same time, you're going to have the individuals who are now invested in where things were going and yank
Yeah.
the rug out from under them.
Yeah. Well, I was very interested in what was it? The Justice League 2 movie, but they shelved that sucker after the Snyder Cut came out. And I was interested in wanting to watch it, but then they shelved it. So that kind of pissed me off.
Well, there's always been only about 2 characters in all DC that I've ever given a shit about. Raven, Teen Titans, later Titans, and then Justice League, and Batman. Those 2. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I will hate on DC all day, but a good majority of the time, anything done with any of those 2 individuals have been at least entertaining. I won't say that about the last movie because I'm just going to pretend that Batman doesn't exist. But most of the Batman movies, whether it was Nolan or the Tim Burton Batman, which was that was a good, wonderful series of movies that matched the time it was made in.
Yeah.
I will go and see those movies in spite of not being a DC fan. But
Yeah.
I had no interest. I mean, the only decent movie, and I'm saying this because I was forced to watch it entirely against my will by the other comic book nerds of my family. Man of Steel started them with a good base. That laid a decent foundation. They then tried to hurry it too fast by throwing way too many storylines into the Batman versus Superman. That was mistake number one. Because let's see here, we're throwing in the fight against Batman and Superman. But out of nowhere, we're going to throw in Doomsday. There's no build up to Doomsday, at least except for a few second shot where it was Lex. But there was no actual real build up to Doomsday. For the
No.
love of God, that CU series, Smallville, did a better build up to Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
There was no build up to Doomsday. It's just Lex throwing a hissy fit because Batman didn't kill Superman. Completely destroys, like, you got two storylines, and then just for the hell of it, we're going to throw in Wonder Woman.
Oh, don't get me started on Wonder Woman. Not give me. I hate her so much. Not Wonder Woman the character, but I hate the woman playing her. I
Now,
hate the
I will
woman playing her.
give Affleck and Cavill they do. For the shit that they were handed, they did their roles incredibly well. And if it weren't for the two of them actually handling those roles, that movie wouldn't have been watchable at all. They carried that movie on their backs.
Yeah.
And then we go from a movie that should have been about Batman versus Superman and how they eventually overcame that massive hurdle into throwing Doomsday and things that didn't happen till way later down the line into a single movie. Now we're going to go abruptly to Justice League. They were trying to follow Marvel's formula, but doing it very poorly.
Yeah, very poorly.
Because let's think about it. When you think about what built up the Thanos, you had all the individual movies done first.
Mm-hmm.
You had Captain America in that film. You had the Iron Man movies. You even had the Spider-Man, all Thor. All of that came first. And
Yeah.
that happened not all at once, but over a 10-year period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Infinity Wars, and then you had Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
And DC wanted that. They wanted something like that, but they took a wealth of material that they have on their own canon side. I'll give their writers their due.
And then threw it together.
And tried to punch it together non-coherently. And the only thing that kept it together were the two veteran actors and the fact that they actually have the ability to act. Then you had poor Momoa. I do feel bad for that guy. I did first notice him in Game of Thrones. A lot of people my age did. Other nerds knew him from Stargate.
Stargate, me. I knew him from Stargate.
Paul knew him from Stargate.
Yeah. Stargate Atlantis. Yep.
He's been doing what he's been doing for some time.
Yeah.
And when you even have Paul or my brother, for example, who's sitting there telling me there are pieces of wood that could manage to conjure up more chemistry with that dude than what they were seeing on the screen there during the first Aquaman movie.
Mhm.
You know. But yeah, folks, if you notice, massive nerd here. I've loved this crap since I was a kid, and I may not be a DC fan, but I didn't take pleasure in seeing DC systematically destroy itself on such a wide scale.
Mhm.
Like if they would have paid attention to what Marvel was doing, there should have been, okay, after Batman, before we jump into Batman versus Superman, we should do an individual Batman movie with Ben Affleck in regards to the Batman of this universe.
Mhm.
And then they should have done the Wonder Woman movie. And then the Cyborg, you get it.
Mhm.
And built that over years.
Years, time, yeah.
Put the work into the scripts in the individual movies like Marvel did. Their formula of success worked for a reason. It's because they took the storylines they were operating with seriously.
Mhm.
You can't create that same kind of first Avengers and all of that kind of magic by trying to crush it all together at once and put everything in fast forward. You're shitting on your audience. You're shitting on the original creators of those comics in the first place. And for God's sake, you are shitting on the poor actors who have to figure out how the hell they're going to carry your insanity and make it believable.
Yeah.
Can you tell I feel sorry for the DC actors?
I feel sorry for Warner Brothers actually. They keep making crappy ass movies and putting themselves into a bigger hole. It's ridiculous.
I guess I don't rant on woke culture as most people do. There are some good things about it, especially in regards to disability and disability rights, which is becoming more largely made known than it ever has been. Literally ever has been. However, when we get so PC, this is why the Gen X generation, rebelled against PC culture for exactly this reason. Because when you are trying to be so PC that you don't offend anyone, all your stories are going to suck. They will lack any form of substance and won't even provide even a glimpse into the reality of the real world to help you attach yourself to the story. You're piecing yourself into having no story at all. It might as well be a fan fiction written by a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
But we're going to hire all this number of people and this number of people. And we got to change what they say here. That can be seen as misogynistic and that can be seen as racist. I understand that these things are offensive. But the thing about storytelling is by exposing these things and showing them out there in the real world, you are showing people what is still fucked up about this world.
Yeah.
You are
Not
basically
trying to hide it from everyone.
you're ripping the heart out of storytelling.
Mhm.
I mean, a writer like Hunter S. Thompson wouldn't be able to exist in this current world the way it is. Hell, they'd even come for Tolkien if he were still around.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of racism in the Lord of the Rings that people don't really get.
Yes and no.
Well, Well,
People
yeah.
are seeing things in the orcs that aren't there. The orcs were not based off of a particular type of human being. They were based off of ancient medieval descriptions of demons.
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm not. I'm talking about the part where Gandalf says that this is black speech, where they're writing on that little scroll, and that's
Doesn't mean the same thing.
well,
He's not saying this is the language of black people.
well,
Think about the time period he was writing in. Black magic, you know.
yeah, but he also was writing in the time of World War One, right? It was World War One.
Well, he
Or
started writing, well, he began with The Hobbit, like the beginnings of The Hobbit towards the beginning of World War One, and he wrote into it in regards to World War Two. And yes, the politics
yeah,
very much reflect what was going on during World War Two. That is true, but there are certain things, because consider what his area of expertise was. It was, as well as in regards to languages, it was also in medieval, Renaissance, and Dark Age history. So he pulled from those influences, especially like the Vedic sagas and all of these things that he describes. Like, for example, the term orc comes from Norse mythology, a particular poem. It was a reference to a particular Norse mythology equivalent to a demon. They called them Orkneys.
yeah.
And that's where they came from. As far as the black language is concerned, why you cannot equate that with black people is because if you look at the etymology of how he developed that particular language, it was developed based off of fascist European countries.
Oh,
German, Austrian. So I guess you could say in a way that it was racist, but it wasn't racist against black people. The term black that he was using was a reference, because remember, he was a stall,
to black
he was
magic. Yeah.
he was Catholic, 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 as
Mm.
it his mother died abandoned by her family because she switched over to Catholicism. This was 1930s, 1940s England.
Mm.
So that reference to black speech, black magic, was coming with the same connotations that it meant back then.
Oh.
Nor was he necessarily misogynistic, although that's tried to be read into it. Hewin was highly influenced by the idea of two things: the Valkyrie and the shield maidens that are known throughout Norse mythology and history,
Mm.
as was much of the Herlings. That was largely based. I mean, look at the wooden houses, the long houses, their shields. Sorry, I have spent way too much time being hyper focused on Tolkien. I have like studied within an inch of my life. I apologize. I didn't mean to get all preachy.
It's okay.
It's just like the way you said that, though, that's the way it comes off to a lot of people because nobody takes into context the time the individuals are operating in, where they're getting some of their source materials from. And because of that, we make incorrect assumptions
Yeah, true.
based off of today's culture. That's why so many people, as much as we get yelled at, say it's insane to try to judge an individual on today's standards. There's a reason for that. We're not saying that you can't call a misogynistic asshole from the 40s that you're reading about, that you can't call him misogynistic because that was the time. That's not what we're saying. What we're talking about is what we just brought up here. That the terms that they used back then, even writing stories, they're not the same as to what they mean now to the current culture. But people aren't teaching that, are they?
No.
You don't have a teacher having you read through The Hobbit or through Lord of the Rings that will take the time to explain to you what black speech actually was. In fact, it was not a reference to any particular people as much as it was to a practice, the black or evil magic behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I know I kind of ranted on that a little bit longer than I would like to, but hey, it's the new year. I got to discuss comic book movies and share my overabundant Tolkien knowledge. I appreciate you listening to me ramble on it, Chairman. I do.
No problem.
All right, folks.
I'm a good listener. I'm a good listener.
That you are. That you are. All right. Well, we've been at it about an hour now, so we are going to go ahead and leave this to the folks who are going to be watching this probably way later.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I do want to say thank you all who will come by later to watch this live, and thank you for supporting us over here on Spilling Tea. We will see you the Tuesday after this one. As always, we'll see you next time. And thank you, Chairman, for coming on. You have a good day, okay?
All right. You too. Have a good one. Bye, guys.
You too. Bye.
Bye.